you are hurt, marriage is not a hospital. Marriage is not a therapist office. Marriage sio dawa ya uchungu pase.
Pearl Radio, the home of fresh and classic hits.
Anne Mutiriri is Anne Mutiriri, a woman of God, in the sense that I am born again. Born again, going to heaven. Believing to go to heaven and working towards that. I am married for 9 years now to one very good man called Frederick Mutiriri, a mother of 3 children, passionate about relationships and marriage, co-founder of Shispak, and doing a lot of other things in the communication space.
Amazing. If you can cram that, oh my goodness.
I know.
Anyways, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we are continuing with this particular topic, but we are focusing now on a different dimension of, now tonight we focus on healing. Healing me, for me and we. Maybe even as we start from that particular point, what do we mean when we say this?
Yeah, there's also a friend of mine who told me without telling me when they saw that caption somewhere, wacha kizungu mingi, just what are you saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh yeah, it wasn't kizungu mingi.
Yeah.
I was just trying to summarize the fact that when we talk about personal healing, it is for yourself and for the relationship. So I would avoid making it look like the whole idea of personal healing is exclusively for the relationship or for the marriage. Because at the end of the day, since it's personal healing, it is you that benefits first. And then now, like I have said before, your relationship automatically by default benefits from an overflow of who you are. So if there's a common phrase that hurt people hurt people. So if you hurt, you'll hurt people. If you're healed, that means you have peace, then you have joy, and that is what your relationship will benefit from. So when I say healing for me and for we, it means personal healing benefits you first, and it will definitely then start to affect positively how you are in that relationship, and you are a part of that relationship, so you will get to enjoy a better relationship. And
when we're talking about healing, there are many aspects of people who are hurt. So even as we start from that point, so what are these things that people need to heal from first, or maybe to not even heal so that they may be able not to even affect their relationship and even not themselves, to harm themselves even before they even get into a relationship?
That's a crucial place to begin with when we talk of healing from what? Especially us, the way we've been socialized, we get to just cruise through life. So you never really get to look back and wonder and recognize that some things that happened in your life are the ones that cause you to behave how you behave. It's not necessarily a personality issue. It's not how you should be behaving. It's not even how the other person is behaving towards you. It's coming from something that happened to you, and it affected your mind, and you may not realize it. So yes, we have a lot of healing to do. And sometimes, again, this is misinterpreted to mean that our parents brought us up badly. Not necessarily that. When we talk of personal healing, we're not trying to make our parents look bad, that they hurt us and but there are a lot of things that happened in our lives that caused a scar. Someone laughed at you and it really got to you when you were younger. Someone constantly, a friend of mine was telling me how her sister was constantly compared to her sister because she was very slender and her sister was very chubby, and even me, I remember very many times when I refused to eat, my parents and siblings had developed this thing of telling me, you'll have to put stones in your pocket when you're going to school in the morning because you'll be blown away by the wind, Yeah, I know. I know I'm chubby right now. I'm struggling to lose weight. But yeah, it was that bad.
Yeah. Look at me now.
Yeah, look at me now.
Hapa ni wapi?
Look at me now.
Yeah.
So, such things
Yeah.
belittled you probably without you realizing you were being belittled. And so you find that you are constantly getting into certain patterns in your life to either prove a point, to try and get out of something, and so that affects how you react to things. And very many times you will find that you're reacting to something which on the surface you don't even recognize. You're not responding to the person you're relating with. So someone does something to you and you do not know that you are reacting to how you feel about that general idea somewhere in your subconscious.
Yeah.
And that's what you're reacting to rather than responding to what someone has actually done or said to you in that moment. So yeah, that question I say is crucial, because I would really like for us to accept that we have healing to do.
Yeah.
And we are not trying to accuse people of stuff. It's life. Even now, we still say things to people, and trust me, you hurt them. A friend was just mentioning the other day something I said like 2 years ago. I didn't realize it got to her like that. And I'm a firm believer in trying not to hurt people. I recognize, these things that get to people and affect how they see themselves or how they think about life. But look at me. I said something, it hurt someone, and I really see what it did.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're trying to accuse people of stuff. It's not that we're trying to say you had a terrible upbringing. Yes, there are severe child traumas, so to speak. There are people who went through a lot of hurt. There are people who, they were sexually assaulted, they were raped, they were beaten up, there is those. But then oftentimes we tend to think that those are the people that need to heal. Me had a nice upbringing. Me, I didn't go through such stuff. So I don't. Nah. There are, unless you're saying nobody ever said something to you that hurt you, or it couldn't have been that perfect. So we have a lot of healing to do. And it begins by you recognizing that it's not necessarily your personality, it's not necessarily what the other person has done. Sometimes you will even realize a pattern about how you respond to people, how you feel about people, and you realize it's not the people that are bad, it's me. Like a friend was saying the other day, there's this rejection narrative, and if everywhere you step in you see rejection, honestly the problem is not the people. The problem is you.
Yeah.
And the problem could be the 1 or 2 times you got rejected is causing you to you feel rejected already. So when you walk into a room, the people didn't even reject you. You already, okay, for lack of a better word, you already rejected yourself.
Disqualify.
Disqualify, and so that's all you feel in the room. And then you will say, I have a curse of rejection. People reject me everywhere I go. No, the curse is not a curse. It's something that happened to you. It's something you need to heal from, so that you stop seeing rejection in everyone, in every room you walk into.
And you mentioned about rejection, and we're talking about these things that have actually hurt us from the past. But now, sometimes these things that have hurt us from the past, they have actually even built up our character. The other day I was talking to a lady who was telling me, me, I had a different view of men, because I saw what my dad has been doing to my mom. So mimi, mwanaume hazinifanyia anything. So she has this particular character and this particular attitude towards men. So when we're talking about healing, how such a person change, because probably that is a narrative that they have in their head, and it has even caused them maybe to become tough-headed. They can't even be submissive in marriage. So how do you handle that?
Oh, yeah, I get it. And yeah, I know we call it character. Actually, most of these things, we've even labeled something called character development. So you have your character is being developed into something.
Yeah.
It's not really character, it's perspective. Because you are who you are.
Yeah.
But it's okay, yes, you are becoming but it's because of a perspective. The root of who you are becoming is just a perspective that it's the way you started to view men.
Yeah.
And before I even say how to overcome this, need I say that it is unfortunate, the detriments of it, and we don't recognize that it could go two ways. The Bible says that as a man thinketh,
so is he.
So is he. In fact, I was just listening to some book by Jismaya today called the Battlefield of the Mind.
I love that book.
Yeah. And I was listening to her just expounding on that power of the mind,
Yeah.
And the fact that if it has that much power to make you whatever, because what you think is who you are, it's who you become, then you need to constantly think about what you're thinking about. You get?
Yeah.
You need to be careful what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, then it goes to prove even what we have now scientifically been allowed by God to discover and explain, that the law of attraction, that which you hold in your heart, you may hate it with all your heart or your mind. But Israel, tell me why many girls who were brought up by abusive fathers end up with abusive husbands. Because that's the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying all of them do. So that's what I'm saying. There's the need to recognize that there is also that bit. So you may grow up hating men and hating what your father did to you and who he was to your mother, and end up just hating men and not wanting anything to do with them. And by God's grace, you end up being careful enough not to end up with a man like that. But unfortunately, there is a bigger percentage that end up attracting that very man. You end up with your father, so to speak.
Wow.
Unfortunately. And biblically and spiritually, I am convinced it is because as a man thinketh,
so is he.
So is he. That which you meditate upon, because yes, you're hating it, but it's on your mind. Yeah. And it's because, and now that leads me to answer your question. The biggest answer is forgiveness. And forgiveness is another Trinity matter. Remember me telling you these things that I had to explain, like, how do you forgive? It's not like you're forgetting. Yes, you're not forgetting, but forgiving is freeing people in your mind.
Yeah.
If you are still bitter about your dad, you are constantly thinking about your father the moment you see a man, you have not forgiven your father, and you are likely to call your father into your life just by the fact that you're constantly meditating about that which he did, and every time you see you get it, every time you see a man, you remember your father. That is what you are calling into your life. You need to forgive him. You need to let him go in such a manner that you don't have to constantly feel bitter every time you see a man, and that will be a sign of forgiveness. You don't have to constantly feel bitter even every time you think about him. Then you'll be able to free. So even in your mind, you are freeing that constant meditation about that, because you are aware that the more you meditate upon it, the more you hold on to it. Because literally forgiving, like they say, forgiving is drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah.
So you're the one holding on to this poison, you're the one holding on to the anger, you're the one holding this person, trying to hold this person back. So basically you are holding on to the bitterness. You don't want it to go. So why like I'm lost for words to explain how you're holding on to it. So you want it. Basically you want it. That is what you want to remain in your mind, in your head. And so basically that's what you're calling, and God will give you that. So because even God operates with you need to align, because even when we speak of the desires of our hearts being fulfilled, the desires of our hearts are a place for a lot of meditation. It's where we feel things, it's where we allow things to dwell. So the desires of our hearts need to be aligned to God's desires, So let us not be in a place of confusion. So when you say you want your heart's desires to be fulfilled, align them to what is God's desire for your life, and God's desire for your life is not that bitterness you're trying to hold on to. Yeah.
Wow. Is marriage now becoming a platform for healing, or you have to heal first before you get into marriage?
Thank you, Israel, because now that you've said it that way, you've given me permission to say it as it is.
Yes.
So it's true. It's true. You are hurt. Marriage is not a hospital. Marriage is not a therapist office. Marriage sio dawa ya uchungu per se. Remember, this marriage is made of two people.
Yes.
And you remember when we started these conversations about maintaining me in we, and I maintain. The more whole each of the people are, the more whole the marriage will be. So coming in with all your wounds, expecting marriage to heal them is a little unfair. It's unfair to your marriage, it's unfair to your partner. Because that means you are coming expecting to get from your partner.
Yeah.
And honestly, marriage is, if there is an institution where you give and give and give, it is marriage. But you see, the good thing again is marriage being a place where you keep on giving. The thing is, none of you ever runs out.
Yeah.
Because both of you are giving. But if you come to take, and you take and you take and you take, the other person will run out, you know, even if they're constantly giving, because they're giving and you're taking and you're not giving them, you know. So yeah, it's marriage is not the place where you come for healing. It's a little unfair. But disclaimer, Israel, and we were having this discussion with some friends of ours over breakfast yesterday. It was awesome. And we were just getting this, you know, this great mind-blowing insights of God is a genius.
Yeah.
You know? Like, he created this thing called marriage. And you know, and you're aware the conflict is actually in how marriage is being attacked and then it's not dying, and that's why we are fighting. Because it's hard to fight this thing. It was God's idea. And it's because he also knew we get a lot of positive character development in marriage. Yeah. And when I speak of character development, I'm not talking about this other one. I'm saying whether the real character development happens in marriage. Because that is where, and I was once asked at an interview, what is it that you know now that you didn't know? And I said, marriage has taught me how selfish a human being I am.
What?
It's true, because let me tell you, marriage manzina koroganga wewe, you know, you are korogwad proper. Yeah. And you can choose to take that positively or negatively. But back to that, you know, issue of when I get into marriage, I will be healed. Like I said, it's a little unfair. And then it's also, it fails to make sense in the simple sense of you trying to cut off branches rather than deal with the roots. You know, you are trying to heal from the top, and that's not possible. You have to deal with where this is coming from. So even when I say that in marriage you get to learn so much, at the end of the day, what it will only help you if you are open to see the bad fruits and then go into why am I producing bad fruits? Because a lot of what happens in marriage is these bad fruits really come out. You know, like I'm telling you, I and it's hard to recognize selfish and pride from yourself. And let me tell you, if there are two things that I have had to humbly admit, it is, Anne, you are a selfish and proud human being. And the moment I recognized that, it came to be so, and I realized, oh my God, this is so true. But it's not the marriage that heals. It's the recognition of that, and then now going to, where did I get all of this, and how can I deal with it?
Amazing. I want us to bring this aspect. People have been in a relationship, or maybe let's say now marriage. Yeah. And this thing has happened to both of them. Yeah. But now the reaction is quite different. Let's say it's grief, the death of my loved one, maybe their son or maybe their mother. Yeah. And, you know, the way the wife will react to that and the way the husband will actually respond to that, they're totally different. Yeah. and the way of healing is totally different. So how do you handle such scenario?
Again, it's let me also go back to personal healing being a personal responsibility.
Yeah.
That's why we need to always bring these two things to meet. That marriage helps you heal in the sense that it helps you see your weaknesses. It helps you see what you haven't dealt with. It helps you see what is coming out of you. And if you are open to it, and that is, what I would love, that everyone is open to see what is wrong and what I'm probably dealing with, then you will be open to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why personal healing is a personal responsibility, because even if there's a lot of things that can be similar. Even people who went through sexual assault, for example, even if you put them in one hall and give them 1,000,001 lectures about how to get over that, at the core of it, there is something different from one person to the other. And that's why even with grief, we usually say there is no one condolence that fits all, and there is never, I know what you feel, I understand how you feel, because you lost your mom, I also lost my mom, because yes, it's both our moms, but at the end of the day, even if our moms were twins and we are twins, at some point we will differ.
Yes.
Maybe even in just how we are wired, how we processed it, how we processed the grief, even from the word go, was affected by some other type of trauma. You get? And so circumstances differ. And that is why, yes, there is a collective responsibility for all of us to, get as much knowledge as you can, get as much empowerment as you can, because sometimes, not even sometimes, again, like we said, as a man thinketh, so is he. So one of the remedies to getting over stuff is feeding your mind with that which you want to empower you, So if you recognize that grief keeps you in that place of afraid that people will leave you, and that's a common phenomenon, especially for people who've lost many people along the way, or you lost this one person who was so dear to you, and you're afraid to make attachments because you feel like you're not sure if that person will last, and so you grow that. But then again, how does the other person process it? Maybe the other person, what they become is just angry at people, because they become angry at this person who left them. So yes, we will put you in a room and give you that empowerment and feed you now with trust, and feed you with and that will keep renewing your mind to trust again, to stop being afraid that you'll be left, to stop being bitter. But then as a personal responsibility, you need to take it upon yourself. If it is forgiveness, forgive. If it is going to therapy, you don't need to go to therapy with someone. Yes, there is marriage therapy.
Yes.
And that cures what is common in the marriage. And even in marriage therapy, there is always that place to recognize what you as an individual and the other individual needs to deal with, so that we heal what is happening in the marriage. So we really need to appreciate that place of personal healing.
Yes.
Is a personal responsibility. You will get help and support along the way. Yes, we need not expect too much of our partners, but by God's grace, often you will find that with the right mindset, you will recognize help coming from your partner. Intentionally, or sometimes it just happens that you realize this person has helped me grow. But then it is, at the core of it, it is a personal responsibility. Because Israel, whatever you're going through, even if it affected, your marriage right now, and it got so bad that you left, if you didn't deal with what you were going through, it's your baggage.
Yeah.
You will move with it to the next relationship.
True.
You move around with this baggage at your workplace. So yes, you will hate your partner because things are not going right with your partner. But what you don't know is what you're dealing with is still affecting other spheres of your life.
Yeah. And you mentioned about moving to the next relationship. And I know young people are listening right now, and most of them, they like to do this. You know, you umeachwa, maybe you have been dumped, that relationship was kaput.
Yeah.
And now you think that, you know what, sasa naingia kwa relationship ingine nimuonyeshe, and then even nimuonyeshe, you know what, mimi nime move on, nimepata mtu mwenye ni better kunishinda. And I realize this is the trend, that when we exit and actually move out of our relationship, sometimes we want to get into another relationship to prove a point. You know, not to really want to say that this is the right person, but you want to prove a point. So that means that you have not healed from your ex.
Yeah,
because I think most people usually get into relationship to get back to their exes, and they want even to post on their status on social media.
Yeah. To hurt them, or sometimes, like you're saying, you are camouflaging and you want to hurt your ex, but what really is happening is you feel really, really bad that they left you, and you're hoping that when they see this, they will come begging you back, and it's not happening.
Yeah.
And you can imagine what happens then. You get even more frustrated
Yeah.
because what you were looking for, you're not finding, and it's because you're looking for the wrong thing. Like, you know, when we say this maintaining me in we, about being whole before you come to the we, you really need to put yourself first.
Yeah.
Not in the selfish way that affects a relationship, but in the sense of, we're running into another relationship. What are you taking to that relationship? Because even going into a relationship without checking yourself first, without making sure that you are good enough to add value into someone else's life and not to just go and suck the life out of them, it's selfish. It's selfish. You are going in there to just suck the life out of someone. You are not looking at, you can't just be going into a relationship to just get. I've come here to use you to prove a point. I have come here so that you wipe my tears away. Dude.
I'm not Jesus.
Thank you. Like Jesus is all good with this.
Yeah.
Alisema mzigo wangu ni mwepesi. So manze hizi mizigo wepelekea Yesu. Jupia mimi nampelekea Yesu. Alafu ndo tukuje si wote tukiwa light.
Yeah.
Like msibacha Jesus hapo na ameshakwambia leo. Unakuja kuniekelea mizigo na mimi niko na zangu mzito pia. It's unfair.
Yeah.
And you're just taking advantage of my human nature, of also the fact that I'm in love with you, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why we need to be responsible even in relationships, honestly, and recognize that this man or this woman may be in love with me, but I need to be fair to them.
Yeah.
Juu kitakuja kukuramba pia. At the end of the day, this which you're not dealing with will affect that relationship, and that relationship has him and you. So you will also experience a lot of unhappiness. Then you will go around saying, oh, marriage is a scam, oh, men are dogs, oh, nini. But you came in with selfish agenda. You didn't come in with a pure heart of, I want to enjoy life with someone. And what are you enjoying? It's not like, marriage was not put somewhere. It's not like candy you're finding somewhere you both come and eat.
Yeah.
This thing is made up of the two of you. So manze, the happiness of that relationship also depends on what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
You had better work as hard as possible not to bring in heartache, not to bring in bitterness, and that includes that bitterness of, I'm bitter with my ex and I want to prove a point. Bring in something better.
Yeah. Wow. And you mentioned about, marriage. And in the script, we cannot, go against the scripture, because the Bible says it is not good for man to be alone.
Yeah.
But now, the problem you have is we don't know the difference between being alone and being lonely.
Yeah.
And many people, they go through this season of loneliness. They feel like, I need to get into a relationship. And now they think that solution and the healing for that loneliness is to get into a relationship. Like as in, wewe, mimi nakanga tu hivi nasikia baridi. Haki nahitaji
Manze, it's about the weather.
Yeah.
Although by the way, even the Bible is very cognizant of the weather.
Yeah, and
is it in Ecclesiastes? Two are better than one.
Yeah, and two, they will make each other warm.
They will make each other warm.
Yeah.
To rule, we have not refused. But where you marry for the wrong reasons, then your joto utakuwa unaionea view sasa na iko hapo.
Yeah.
You know, because because all these things blend up together.
Yeah.
And again, we go back to this marriage is made of two people.
Yeah.
So what are you made of? Mm-hmm. What you're made of is what you're bringing. And what the other person is made up of is what they're bringing.
Yeah.
So kama ni joto peke yake ndo inawaleta, tosheka na hiyo joto. And never say someone disrespected you. Never say someone didn't support you on your dreams. Someone didn't support you in your career. Never complain for anything.
Yeah.
Zoezi ulikuja hiyo joto.
Yeah.
Simsi yako moto vizuri. Si yako sawa, si anaopa, you know. Engine nini iko sawa.
Yeah.
Tosheka na hiyo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walisema ni jiko.
Alipata jiko. Bas, kama ulikuwa tafuta jiko, tosheka na nini? Tosheka na jiko.
Wewe nunua tu makaa.
Wewe nunuanga tu makaa. Hizi vitu zingine wachana nazo basi. Ati you wanted her to respect you. No. You wanted her to be submissive. No. Hapana. So ulikuwa katika jiko. Vitosheka na jiko.
Yeah. So it's very important for you to know the intentions and the reasons why you are even getting into things. Exactly. Because you might think that is the solution for you, but now your mindset is wrong.
Yes.
That you need even healing on your mind.
Exactly.
And that's why the scripture even says, you know, do not be conformed into a particular pattern.
Yes.
But be transformed.
Yes, by renewal of the mind. So even, and let me tell you, some of these things come from a lot of, when we say healing, and I think we need to get a more general term for this, because sometimes it's not just healing from pain and so on that affects the relationship.
Yes.
Sometimes trauma goes very much hand in hand with things that were inculcated into our minds and they settled into our subconscious and they are affecting how we behave. For example, a man in a kawaida African society was being brought up to be a man. So yes, they may have gone through some trauma here and there ya kuambiwa you're not being a man because, you know, unalialia aje nini, and they often felt confused because, you know, they're feeling like crying, but then, you know.
Yeah.
But then also there is what was settled in their subconscious of a man, mwanaume ni kusema, you know.
Yeah.
And it happened, you know, when they were growing up with the siblings, there was the, you know, role separation and what have you, and they were probably made to know that they're the ones who make decisions more than the women, and I'm not saying all of this to destabilize the balance of submission and whatnot, but you need to be very careful what is culturally even affecting your marriage, and what is biblically sound for your marriage. Because if you were socialized to believe that when you finally get married, you will sit down and order people around, you know, it's probably what you were told. It's probably just what you saw happening.
Yeah.
Wewe uliona mzae akiingia kwa nyumba, anaketi, anasema give me the remote. Kwani chakula haijakuwa tayari? Kwani, you know. And unfortunately, and we often have this discussion with my husband, and we realize how maybe you get born again or you even go to PMCC, the premarital counseling, and you even do it for 3 months, but 3 months even on a daily kagiri is barely enough to wipe out a socialization of 25 years. So 25 years of your life, it was dug into your subconscious that a man behaves like this. You need to recognize that it is not easy for a few months of premarital counseling to wipe that away. Not that it is not impossible, but it is not easy. And why I say that is because it's not the premarital counseling or the information you gather within those 3 months that changes. It is the recognition that something else is in your mind and you need to wipe it out. Yeah. And I usually say the heart and the mind are like a fountain. You know the way when a fountain, when water is, jumping, so to speak, up, you can't really throw a pebble in there. Why? Because it's being fed with water from down here, and so it's overflowing with that. So you can't put a pebble in hata haina space ya kuingia. And that's how the heart is. And for you to put in a pebble, you would have to stop this flow. And that's how you need to operate with your mind and your heart, to be ye renewed. That you need to stop the flow of this which you recognize is not doing well for your relationships, so that you're able to even feed in other stuff. So keep on feeding. Is it the word of God? Is it, keep on feeding what you want for your marriage. That is after recognizing that how you were socialized is not going to work for your relationship. It's probably not even godly, some of it. And you feed in so much that is now all that is in that, that circle where that water for the fountain is coming from. Fill it up with that. Fill it up so much with that now that is what bubbles up. That's how you work on your subconscious.
Wow. Amazing. There are a lot of things that I want us to talk about, but unfortunately time is not really on our side.
I know.
It's time for us to call it a wrap for the night. Anyways, thank you so much, Anne. Dr. Anne in the making.
Amen.
Thank you so much for sharing. And maybe in just a parting shot, because we just want to delve into our devotion in the next few minutes. I just want to share a parting shot and also tell guys how they can get in touch with you.
So my parting shot will be quite just a wrap up. And it's a caption I was using even as I was telling people to tune today, that until you are curious enough to try and find out why you behave the way you behave and why your partner behaves the way they behave, you will never see the need for personal healing. Personal healing will never become apparent to you. And what will happen is the lack of healing will continue to bite into that relationship. So you need to think about, yes, I know anakukosea, mnakosana nini, he did, she did, but then just take a step back and ask yourself, why did I react like that? How do I think? How do I process things? And also just be fair enough to think, why it's not always about you. Why could this person be behaving, if especially it's a pattern, why does he always do this? Because it's not always about you. Unless you are curious enough to ask yourself those questions, you will never heal, and you will continue to suffer the consequences of lack of healing. Get in touch with me. I am Anne Muitiriri. Ata Google Anne Muitiriri, unaweza nipata pale anyway. Just go to Facebook. Facebook and TikTok. And TikTok, Google. You'll find Anne Muitiriri.
Lanes, I'm telling you, lanes.
Or search for SheSpark. That's the organization we founded with a partner called Lynette Wawero. Wawero. We are trying to create, to build the narrative of we can thrive as women while in marriage. We don't have to feel trapped. We don't have to feel disadvantaged. And we can get into a place of just enjoying marriage while thriving in every other area of our life. So for the women who are listening, is your SheSparking?
96.9 FM, Pearl Radio.